A photograph lies on the table. Trotsky, Zinoviev, Kamenev, Sverdlov. 4 men of Jewish origin. And beside them is a question that has been used as bait for more than a century. Did the Jews really rule Russia? The simplest answer sounds blunt. There were Jews among the Bolsheviks, and some of them held extremely powerful positions. From that fact emerged one of the most poisonous myths of the 20th century, the claim that it was not a political party, an ideology, a war, or the collapse of an empire, but the Jewish people who seized control of Russia. But this is a trap. History begins with a fact. A myth begins when that fact is transformed into an accusation against an entire people. The title sounds like a question about secret power. An honest answer must begin by rejecting the premise itself. Peoples do not rule countries through the surnames of individual people. A revolutionary's ancestry does not make him a representative of all Jews. A political party does not become Jewish simply because some of its leaders were Jewish. If you value historical investigations that neither conceal uncomfortable facts nor repeat collective slander, support this episode with a like and subscribe to the channel. To understand where this myth came from, we must enter not a secret government office, but an ordinary Jewish apartment in the Russian Empire. On the table lies a letter to a relative in America. In a pocket is a document stating that its owner cannot live everywhere, cannot study everywhere, and cannot choose just any profession. The Pale of Settlement, created at the end of the 18th century and formally codified in 1835, restricted most Jews to the western territories of the empire. Even within the Pale, additional restrictions remained in force. During different periods, Jews were barred from certain cities, government service, educational institutions, and professions. But not every young Jew became a revolutionary. Some chose religion and community life. Others chose emigration. Some embraced Zionism. Jewish workers joined the Bund, a Jewish socialist party that defended labor rights, the Yiddish language, and cultural autonomy. Some joined the Mensheviks, or liberal parties. Others stayed away from politics altogether. The Jewish street argued with itself. It did not speak with one voice. Then came the First World War. Enormous losses, inflation, transportation failures, bread lines, and exhaustion within the army destroyed public confidence in the monarchy. The food crisis became one of the immediate causes of the February Revolution. Protests intensified in Petrograd, and soldiers from the city's garrison began siding with the demonstrators. It was not a conspiracy. It was an empire disintegrating during a war. In March 1917, the monarchy fell. On March 20th, under the old-style calendar, April 2nd, under the new style, the provisional government abolished restrictions based on religion and nationality. Historian Brendan McGeever notes that more than 140 anti-Jewish regulations, occupying approximately 1,000 pages, were eliminated. For Jewish families, this was not an abstract reform. A door that had been locked by law for decades had finally opened. But Jews could welcome the equality brought by the February Revolution while simultaneously opposing the Bolshevik seizure of power in October. Celebrating the abolition of discrimination was not the same as desiring a one-party dictatorship. Yes, Leon Trotsky, born Lev Bronstein, became one of the principal organizers of the October Uprising and later one of the chief creators of the Red Army. Grigory Zinoviev, Lev Kamenev, and Yakov Sverdlov all occupied prominent positions within the Bolshevik leadership. Their origins should not be concealed. Their political responsibility should not be diluted. But the biographies of several individuals cannot be transformed into a verdict against millions of people. According to figures cited by historian Antony Polonsky, on the eve of the revolution, approximately 1,000 of the roughly 23,000 Bolsheviks were Jewish. Meanwhile, the Bund had approximately 33,000 members. Researchers continue to refine these figures, but the proportions destroy the convenient image created by propaganda. Organized Jewish political life extended far beyond Bolshevism. During the elections to the Russian Constituent Assembly, Russian Jews did not vote as a single revolutionary bloc. Studies demonstrate strong support for Zionist, national, Orthodox, and other Jewish electoral lists. Historians emphasize that only a minority of Jews supported the Bolsheviks at the time. The mechanism behind the myth was cold and effective. A genuine fact was selected. Some Bolshevik leaders were of Jewish origin. Then Lenin and the other non-Jewish leaders disappeared from the picture. The millions of Jews who were not Bolsheviks disappeared. The Bund disappeared. The Zionists disappeared. Religious communities, craftsmen, merchants, workers, and soldiers disappeared. Only several surnames remained, and the word Jews was substituted for the word party. Conspiracy theories are powerful not because they are intelligent. They are powerful because they are simple. Once again, the answer may seem obvious. If some of the leaders were Jewish, then the Jews must have ruled. But now the difference is clear. Individual Jewish revolutionaries were not the Jewish people. We have reached the halfway point of this story. Now the old question can be set aside. The real question is not whether Jews ruled Russia. The real question is why anti-Semitic propaganda persuaded so many people that an extraordinarily complex revolution could be explained with a single word: Jews. Tell us in the comments whether you have encountered this myth before, and support the video with a like. White army and émigré propaganda circulated fantastical lists in which even non-Jewish Soviet officials were declared Jewish. Historian Richard Pipes described examples of foreign military officers and diplomats who believed the fabrication that nearly all of Moscow's commissars were Jews. The forged protocols of the Elders of Zion provided this myth with a ready-made narrative about a secret Jewish plan for global domination. And then analysis gave way to bloodshed. During the Russian Civil War, a Jewish family could be accused of Bolshevism, regardless of its actual political views. Pogroms were committed by numerous armed forces and local detachments, including white, red, nationalist, and irregular formations. Between 1918 and 1920, tens of thousands of Jews were murdered. The precise number remains debated by historians, but the scale of the catastrophe is beyond doubt. To an anti-Semite, a Jew was always guilty. If he was a communist, he was guilty because he was a communist. If he was a merchant, he was condemned as a bourgeois exploiter. If he supported no one, his silence was declared proof of cunning. Jews did not rule Russia, but the myth that they ruled Russia began to rule the imagination of millions, and Jews paid for that myth with their blood. It is important not to fall into the opposite falsehood. The Bolshevik government genuinely opposed pogroms and official anti-Semitism, but it was not a protector of independent Jewish life. Communist ideology placed class above religion and national autonomy. During the 1920s, the last independent Jewish political parties were closed. In 1922 and 1923 alone, more than 1,000 cheders, traditional Jewish religious elementary schools, were shut down. Religious education was restricted, synagogues were closed, Zionist organizations were persecuted. This destroys another false argument. The Jews benefited from the revolution, therefore they must have caused it. After the February Revolution, Jews received legal equality. After the October Revolution, some individual Jews gained career opportunities that had previously been closed to them under the Empire. But at the same time, the new state destroyed independent political parties, schools, religious institutions, and the right of Jewish communities to speak in their own name. Trotsky was a man of Jewish origin, but Trotsky was not the Jewish people. Zinoviev was not a synagogue. Sverdlov was not the Bund. Kamenev did not represent millions of families from Odessa to Vitebsk. Their decisions must be judged as the decisions of revolutionaries and government officials, including their participation in the violence of the regime. Ancestry may explain part of a person's biography. It does not create collective guilt. The myth of Judeo-Bolshevism survived the Russian Civil War and became part of the Nazi worldview. Nazi propaganda portrayed communism as a Jewish conspiracy and used this construction as one of the justifications for a war of annihilation and the mass murder of Jews. A lie, assembled from several real surnames, became a weapon against millions of people who had never held political power. So, did the Jews rule Russia? No. After the October Revolution, Russia was not ruled by the Jewish community. It was not ruled by synagogues. It was not ruled by rabbis. It was not ruled by a secret council. Russia was ruled by the Bolshevik Party, a centralized organization that relied on ideology, armed force, and the machinery of the state. There were people of Jewish origin within that party. Some were extremely influential. Some participated in brutal decisions. But they acted alongside representatives of many peoples from across the former Russian Empire. Most importantly, the majority of Jews were not part of this government. Many voted for other parties. Many were Zionists, Bundists, religious Jews, or ordinary people trying to survive the war and preserve their families. What should be remembered? The February Revolution gave Jews legal equality. The October Revolution brought the Bolshevik Party to power, not an ethnic or religious people. Prominent Jewish revolutionaries did not represent all Jews. Most Jews did not support the Bolsheviks in 1917. And the myth of collective Jewish power became a justification for pogroms before later entering Nazi propaganda. The secret of the Russian Revolution is not that Jews supposedly ruled Russia. The real secret is how war destroyed an empire, how a radical political party seized the moment, and how anti-Semitic propaganda transformed the participation of individual people into an accusation against an entire nation. Jews did not rule Russia. But the myth that they did became one of the most poisonous myths of the 20th century. If you watched until the end, tell us in the comments which country and city you are watching from. It is important for me to understand where our audience is located, so that future episodes can be published at a time that is most convenient for you.